Transcripts and recordings of the podcast may not be used for any purpose without the direct written permission of the podcast owner. Welcome to Light It Up, a podcast about resilient women balancing motherhood, their careers, personal lives, and all of the challenges that come along with being a superwoman. Each week, you'll be motivated to take action to lead, inspire, transform, and empower. Now, here's your host, Dr. Regina Mashira. Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of Light It Up. I am your host, Dr. Agina Mashira. I want to thank you for making the choice to listen and tune in to this week's episode of Light It Up. It's always a pleasure to be able to come on the microphone just to share what I hope to be are some words of inspiration and encouragement. We're right in the beginning of March, and of course, it's Women's History Month. And I am going to talk about just the importance of women in leadership, women who are on the forefront for leading change. And so, as we enter Women's History Month and reflect on this year's theme, Leading the Change, Women Shaping a Sustainable Future, I've been thinking about what leadership really looks like in the lives of women. Not just visible leadership, not just titles and platforms, but sustained leadership, faithful leadership, partnership-driven leadership. A few weeks ago during Saviour's Day weekend, I watched my mother receive an award that she didn't know was coming. She was honored as Outstanding MGT GCC for 2026 by the Brothers and Sisters of Mosque Number 20 in Camden, New Jersey. And one thing that I learned during the service was that this was my mother's first award ever. This trip was my first time visiting Philadelphia for any extended period of time, as well as Camden, New Jersey. And I experienced it by watching my mother be recognized by a community that values her service. But before I get deep into this episode, I want to let you all know that this episode isn't just about an award. It's about the women who sustain the vision, the women who stand beside leadership, the women who build quietly, the women whose faith becomes infrastructure, and what it means generationally to witness that. So before I say more, I want you to hear a piece of that moment.
I'm here before I finish my subject matter, because it's not going to be long, to honor a sister who came through the ranks of the Nation of Islam, supporting her husband back in the early 70s. She's a gem. And when you support men in organizations who have missions, that's special kind of women. These kind of women make sacrifices, brother, because the man has a mission. Ain't no woman gonna make no sacrifice for you if you ain't got no mission. If you ain't got no mission, her nature gonna make it all about her, and you gonna lose because she's powerful, brother. powerful in every kind of way, especially the ones that know themselves. So I want to take this opportunity to stop for just a second and bring up here on this roster. Every year here at Temple number 20, we honor a Sister of the Year. And I don't know no greater honor, Brother Jamil, to give to the Sister of the Year except to Sister Amina Muhammad. Sister Amina, would you please come on up? Your mother, Sister Agina, you want to come up or you want to do? Oh, you want to do that? Sister Amina, you want to come? I want people to see. I want them.
Come on here so that
They can see. Watch your step.
your daughter can see you clearly.
I just wanted to be able to, Sister Amina for me personally, because her daughter, Sister Agina Muhammad, is here in Camden, New Jersey. Of course, Brother Jamil Muhammad is here. And I am just honored to have you support a young brother minister like myself, whom your late husband loved so much. And I can tell the love that he had for me because of the essence and expression of the love that I get from you, Brother Jamil and Sister Agina. And I'm just honored that when Brother Minister was going through his trials, Sister Amina was there, counsel, as a counselor. Brother Jamil was there. Sister Agina and their family and members of Crow was there to give counsel. And when you're going through something of trauma, we like to say, it's not necessarily trauma, I'm just telling you who are listening in the audience, but as a Muslim, do you think we'll be left alone on saying we believe and not be tried like those who believed before us? That is incumbent among the Muslim. And the greater you can become, or we can become, the greater the trial. And this sister was strong. And it comes from her training. The way she lived, the way she supported her husband, the way she raised her children, helped raise her grandchildren, and the support of her husband's mission. Because nobody was there. Boy, you know how cold it is in Chicago? It looked cold on that video. It wasn't snow. It looked like snow, but it was ice. And Sister Amina was holding that camcorder while Brother Lanier was going out, starting and beginning the essence. But you'll hear a little bit about the essence of Crow in a minute. But she was here. She was there. And I'm honored, Sister Amina, on behalf of the MGT and GCC 2026, Sister Amina, thank you for Muhammad's Temple of Islam number 20 under the administration of Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad, February 22nd, 2026.
When I heard her name called, I felt proud, but I also felt reflective. For decades, my late father, Munir Muhammad, worked to establish the Coalition for the Remembrance of Elijah Muhammad, which is the National Archives of the Nation of Islam. That's visionary work, preservation work, historical work. And my mother stood beside him, faithfully, consistently, without seeking recognition. And we often talk about visionaries, but sustainable impact is rarely built alone. There are women whose names may not be first, but without them, the vision doesn't last. That is leadership, not loud leadership, not performative leadership, but sustaining leadership. And that kind of leadership shapes what lasts. When my mother accepted the award, she said something that really stayed with me, and I want you to hear it.
In the name of Allah, who appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and in the name of his last and greatest messenger, I speak of no other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I greet my sisters and brothers with the greetings of peace of Assalamu alaikum. This is really a surprise to me and an honor that Muhammad Temple number 20 is always keeping Crow alive, and I consider it as Crow 2 in Camden, New Jersey, because I remember years ago my husband was lost, and he called Brother Wazim, and they met him, and he told me, Amina, I just met brothers who remind me of when we came into the Nation of Islam, and they came and they got us and they treated us like real brothers. And I must say, I love the sisters and brothers here at Muhammad Temples of Islam number 20, although I love all my brothers and sisters. But when I first visited here, it was like the first time I visited Mosque number 2 in Chicago, as Sister Nora was talking about her first visit. Well, my first visit, I just thought I had gone to heaven because I saw the brothers open up the doors for the sisters, and I saw the sisters in the white uniforms and the brothers. And Munir told me the search procedure that I would have to go through. And the first time I went to the mosque, Minister Yusuf Shaw and Dr. Salam was teaching on heaven and hell. It's not a place, but heaven and hell is here on earth. And I accepted the first day, although Munir had been going a couple of Sundays. And he said, why did you go up there and shake their hands? I say, because all of the questions that I always asked myself and wondered why black people was treated the way that they was treated. And the questions that I would ask, and they say, you don't question God. I was taught all of the questions that I always asked myself, and I never got the answer, and I got that answer that day in July. So I am thankful to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad for being able to recognize our Savior, Master Farad Muhammad, who had been in and out of America for over 23 years, searching for us. But it was that little man who was able to recognize him and to tell him, I know who you are. And I am so thankful for that. And I am thankful for my husband, Brother Munir Muhammad, who recognized that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was being written out of history. And he said that it's something that I must do, but he didn't know what to do at the time. And we had just purchased a video camera. And he had always told me, I'm not gonna purchase a camera just to be taking pictures or making movies. When I do, we're gonna do something about it. So it was a Sunday morning. Munir was always a spur of the moment person. And he said, Amina, get the camcorder. We going out to film the property of the Nation of Islam. So I told my daughter, who was in bed, Gina, get up. And we jumped in the car and we started traveling to the different areas where the Nation of Islam had business and restaurants and newspapers. And we video everything on that cold Sunday afternoon. And I never knew that that videotape that I was taping that morning would be the foundation to let the people realize how important it was to have an archive for the Nation of Islam so that great pains will be used to only use the messenger's words so that no one can say, I don't remember this man. So I'm thankful and I'm honored and I appreciate Minister Wazim. He's like a son to me. And I'm just so overwhelmed with this. And this is the first award I have ever received in my life. And I'm thankful to Temple Number Two under the leadership of Minister Wazim Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
When she said this was the first award she had ever received, I was surprised. But I also wasn't because I've watched her life. I've watched her pour into her partner, my late father, pour into her children, pour into her grandchildren, pour into community, support the dreams of others, help others build. And in that moment, I found myself wondering how many women define purpose entirely through service and never pause to define dreams for themselves? That question isn't criticism, it's reflection. There is a beauty in that generation of women, women who understood partnership as calling, women who understood faith as foundation, women who prioritized family and vision over recognition. Because of her, my mother, I learned discipline, I learned commitment, I learned what it means to stand beside someone and see a vision through. In my own life, I've made conscious choices. I pour into my children and still define my own goals. I know how to support a partner and still pursue my own purpose. I build platforms for others and still honor my own vision. I travel solo. I create intentionally. I lead in spaces that matter to me. And I allow myself to be recognized, not because I reject her model, but because I understand it. That is what we would call generational growth, not rebellion, but refinement. As we think about leading the change, especially during Women's History Month, we have to broaden how we define change. Change is not always disruption. Sometimes change is sustainability. Sometimes change is faith that endures across decades. Sometimes change is a woman standing behind a vision until it becomes legacy. My mother's recognition was not just about her, it was about what she sustained: faith, vision, history, family. When we honor women like that, we're honoring the foundation our future stands on. And it meant something to be there, present, to witness it, to see my mother honored, to watch a woman who sustained vision, faith, and family be recognized in her own right. And it reminded me of this. Legacy is not only what we inherit, it is what we choose to carry forward intentionally. So, as we move through this season of honoring women, I invite you to reflect on two things. Honor the women who sustained the vision before you and define clearly the vision you are sustaining now. Lead with faith, lead with clarity. Lead in a way that allows you to stand beside others without losing yourself. That is how we lead the change. That is how we shape what lasts. And that is how faith becomes legacy. I want to thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Light It Up. If something that I shared with you today resonates with you, or if there is a woman who you believe will find that this episode resonates with them, please make sure that you share the link and subscribe to the podcast. So thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Light It Up. I hope you can join me next week. And as always, remember to continue to light it up and shine bright like a diamond. Thanks for joining me this week on Light It Up. Make sure you visit my website at www.lightituppodcast.com or www.ajinamuhammad.com. You can also find me on social media using the handle @LightItUpPodcast. If you like what you've heard, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, I'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or you can simply tell a friend about the show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Until next time, light it up and shine bright like a diamond.